I thought Sabrina and I had the perfect life. We were high school sweethearts, married for 10 years, with 2 beautiful kids, a house in the suburbs, the whole 9 yards. I worked hard as an architect to give us everything we ever dreamed of, and Sabrina was a wonderful stay-at-home mom. Our life felt like a fairy tale, until one day, the fairy tale started to crumble. It began subtly. Sabrina started going out for girls' nights more often. At first, it was once a month, then weekly. She'd come home late, smelling of a perfume I didn't recognize. She'd be glued to her phone, smiling at messages I wasn't meant to see. When I'd ask who she was texting, she'd just wave it off, saying it was her friend Jessica. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was the love of my life. Then, the small changes became bigger. She started dressing differently, buying more revealing clothes. She joined a gym and became obsessed with her appearance. I tried to be supportive, telling her she looked great, but deep down, a knot of anxiety was twisting in my stomach. She seemed distant, emotionally checked out. Our conversations became superficial, and our intimacy vanished. It felt like I was living with a stranger. One evening, I came home early from work to surprise the family. The house was quiet, the kids were with my parents, and Sabrina's car was gone. Figured she was out running errands. I went upstairs to our bedroom, and that's when I saw it. Lying on her bedside table was a receipt from a fancy downtown hotel. It was for 2 people. From the previous afternoon, a time she told me she was at her book club. My heart hammered against my ribs. It couldn't be true. There had to be an explanation. I called her, my hand shaking. She answered, her voice breezy. I asked her where she was. Just at the mall, grabbing a few things, she said. I confronted her about the receipt. Silence. The silence was deafening, more damning than any confession. Finally, she sighed. Mitchell, we need to talk. That night, the truth came tumbling out. It was a coworker, Mark. It started as innocent flirting at a work event she'd attended with a friend, then escalated 2 secret lunches, and then the hotel. She swore it was a mistake, a one-time thing, that she was just feeling neglected and wanted to feel desired again. I was shattered, neglected. I worked 60-hour weeks to provide for our family, to build our dream life. I wanted to leave, to pack my bags, and never look back. But then I looked at the pictures of our children on the wall, their smiling faces. I thought about the 10 years we'd built together. Was I really going to throw it all away over one mistake? I loved her. Despite the pain, I still loved her. So, I agreed to try and forgive her. We started marriage counseling. Sabrina quit her part-time job to avoid Mark and promised to cut off all contact. For a while, things seemed to get better. We were talking more, going on dates, trying to reconnect. It felt like we were slowly rebuilding the trust that had been shattered. I started to believe we could actually make it through this. I was so wrong. The peace was just the calm before an even bigger storm. A few months later, I got an anonymous email. It was just one sentence. She's still seeing him. Attached was a photo with Sabrina and Mark sitting at a cafe, holding hands across the table. The date stamp was from the day before. The rage that filled me was white hot. I had given her a second chance, and she had thrown it back in my face. I confronted her again, this time with the photo. There were no more excuses, no more tears of remorse. Her face was cold, defiant. She told me she couldn't stop seeing him, that she thought she was in love with him. She said she was leaving me, just like that. 10 years of marriage, a family, a home, all of it meant nothing. She packed a bag and walked out the door. Leaving me alone in the house we had built together, the silence screaming around me. The aftermath was a nightmare. The divorce was brutal. Sabrina fought for everything: the house, half my savings, alimony. She and Mark had no shame. They would show up to court dates together, holding hands. It was a public humiliation. My friends and family were supportive, but I felt like a failure. How could I have been so blind? How could the woman I loved do this to me and our children? The kids were the most tragic victims in all of this. They were confused and hurt. Trying to explain to a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old that mommy wasn't coming. Home was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Sabrina's visits became less frequent. It seemed her new life with Mark was more important than her own children. Slowly, very slowly, I started to pick up the pieces. I focused on my kids, on being the best father I could be for them. I poured my energy into my work, Some days were incredibly dark, but I refused to let her actions define my future. I learned that forgiveness isn't about letting the other person off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the bitterness that eats you alive. It's been 2 years now. The kids and I have found a new normal. I sold the house that held so many painful memories, and we moved into a new place, a fresh start. I heard through a mutual friend that things didn't work out for Sabrina and Mark. Apparently, the thrill of the affair wore off, and reality set in. She tried to reach out to me once, a text message late at night saying she'd made a terrible mistake. I read it, and then I deleted it without a reply. That chapter of my life is closed. My story isn't about being a victim of betrayal. It's a story about resilience, about a father's love, and about finding the strength to rebuild from the ashes. Thank you for listening.